Hi, this is Edward Troxel. In today's tutorial we're going to look to see what effects and transitions are installed in our NLE. So we'll determine how to go through the effects and transitions lists and figure out exactly what we can choose from. In a future tutorial we'll then learn how to actually add an effect or transition to a clip on the timeline. For today's tutorial, I'm going to share with you one of my little secret tools that I use to help me diagnose things on other people's computers if needed, but I also run it on my machine for every version of Vegas so that I can get the new information about each new version. This will actually create a text file on your hard drive, so we'll need to specify where this text file is going to be created. For mine, this is the path that I use. You will need to change this path to be a valid location on your hard drive. So just make sure you change this to be a good location. And then it is going to create this file and open it up for writing. Now we are going through and look at all kinds of different information. I had put some message boxes in here. If you want to uncomment them out, you can. This is just to show which section is being run at the time. So the first thing we're going to do is look for the audio effects. All of these are very similar in how we process them. We're going to be using plugin nodes for every one of these, and then we're going to get whatever it is we are looking for. So we're going to look at myvegas.audioeffects. For these, I always like to put them into a try catch because there can be some plugins installed that don't play nice and therefore won't necessarily give you the correct information or just really aren't good. So this is just an in-case thing. Most of them will be fine, but just in case, we put the try catches in here in the various places. So you can see we have one here, we have one here, and we have one here for these audio effects. And like I said, that's a just in case thing. If you have only the built-in effects, won't be a problem. If you have good third-party effects, still won't be a problem. If you have some shady third-party effects, there may be a problem. So anyway, the first thing we're going to do is get the name of the effect, and we're also going to get the class ID for that effect. And then we're going to check, is this audio, because we're looking at audio effects, which they should only be audio effects by going through the audio effects, but it's always good to check. Is it if it's not a container and it's not a package, then we're going to go on forward. Let's look at all of the available presets inside this particular effect. So the effect is FX, and we're going to look at all of the presets inside of FX, and these are all going to be effect presets. Then we're going to create a new line that begins with our effect name. Then we're going to add the preset name. And then we're going to write each line out to our text file, which we'll look at the end. So now that that is all that we have to do to go through for the audio effects, let's scroll down and look and see what's next. Next, we're going to check out the video effects. So we do the exact same thing. We get our plugin node in myvegas.videoFX. We set our string by getting the name, the class ID. We're also going to get a unique ID and whether or not this is an OFX plugin. It's important to know whether or not the plugin is OFX, because if it is OFX, we can actually set any of the parameters individually. Whereas if it is not OFX, the only thing we can do is choose a preset. So now we're going to go through each of the presets in the effect, and once again, we're going to list out the preset name and write out every preset that is available for that effect. Moving on down, we're going to actually look at the media generators. We can actually add the media generators to the timeline as well. So we go through, once again, the plugin node fx is myvegas.generators. Then we create our string with the fx name, class ID, the unique ID, and whether or not it is OFX. Then we go through and look at all the presets that are available in that fx and write each one of them out to a text file. Next, we're going to come down and check all of the available transitions. So once again, our plugin node fx to myvegas.transitions. We're going to get the name, class ID, unique ID, and is OFX again. So basically, as you can see, really the only line we're changing is this line right here between all the various categories. So the last one said myvegas.generators, this one says myvegas.transition, the one before that said myvegas.effects. So basically we process them all the exact same way. Then we get our presets and write out all of the presets to the text file. And then finally, we've already looked at this in the past where we could go through and get all of our various renderers that are available to us. But we're going to go ahead and write them out to the text file too, just so that we'll have them available. And so we'll get the file extension, the file type, and the class ID, and then we'll write all of them out to the text file. Then we will close the text file when we are finished, and then I'm going to pop up a message box that says done, so that I will know when this script is finished, since there's not going to be nothing visual to see that it has finished processing. So let's go in and run this script now and see what happens. So tools, scripting, run script. We have saved it right here. So now I'm going to run it. And now the script is running. As I said, we will see it physically doing nothing, but we will just kind of sit here and wait for it to go through all of the information it has to go through, and then when it's finished, we'll get the done message. And as you can see, it took a little while to finish, but it is now done. And now you will see we have the file right here. And when we open this up, you will see, first of all, we have all of the audio effects listed. And then the chorus flanger has all of these separate presets available. Apparently there's several other presets that do not have a name. Then we get the compressor. Then here's a bunch of presets that are available, and so forth and so forth. These are all of the audio effects that are available. Knowing this unique ID is very important, because a lot of times it is better to search for the effects that you want to add using this unique ID instead of the name, because in different languages the name can actually change. And so therefore, if I'm programming this thing in English and somebody in France is running this in French and this word has changed, I might not be able to find that effect. But if I use this number right here, I'll always be able to find it. So let's go on down, scroll on down, and these are all audio effects still. Okay, now we have finished with the audio effects. This is the last audio effect. The next thing here is Vegas Raise. And as you can see here, we still have this number here. This is the unique ID, which happens to match this number here. And is this an OFX effect? No, it is not. So we can choose from one of these presets, luminance or alpha, but we cannot modify the settings. Then we come down here and we get to style transfer, for example. Here's the unique ID for this one. Notice it's not a number anymore, it's a name. This one, is it OFX? Yes, it is. That means we would be able to go through and change all the individual parameters individually, but we could still pick one of the presets if we wanted to. And so we continue down looking at all of the video effects. Once we get past the video effects, now we can get to the third-party effects. So we can see here, active camera. This is a new blue effect. It comes from the Elements package, and the name is active camera. So if I was searching for it, this is the name I would search for. And we go on down, and of course I have several new blues installed. Okay, then we get to Vegas color gradient. This is the first media generator that is listed. Once again, it is not an OFX effect. We get down to titles and a text. This one is an OFX effect. So we can actually change the individual parameters on the titles. The checkerboard is OFX, so we could change the individual parameters. We can also pick one of the presets, such as large tiles or small tiles, and so forth and so on, down through the media generators. Next, after the last media generator, which I have Titler Pro 7 installed, the next thing we see are transitions. So the first transition is portals. It is not an OFX plugin, so we could pick one of the presets, but we cannot change the parameters. If we keep scrolling down, we get to barn door. It is an OFX effect, so we could change the individual parameters on it. And we go through and look at the rest of the transitions that are available. And then finally, we get down to our rendering presets. So we could render out to an AC3, to the AC3 format, and this is the unique ID for that format. If we wanted to do, say, Magic AVC, we could come down to here. We can see it's going to give us an MP4 extension, and this would be our unique ID for that format. So now that we know how to look through the effects and transitions that are available, we could actually put them in a list on the screen and let the user choose which ones they wanted to add. So there are many options available to us now that we know how to see what is actually available in the lists. Please sign up at www.JETDV.com and subscribe on YouTube to get further notifications on when new videos are presented.